What if I told you that gut health has everything to do with succeeding on your weight loss journey? No, I don't mean your gut, like that flubby little thing below your midsection. I'm talking about your intestinal tract, your microbiome. We're going to talk about that at length today, live, streaming on my YouTube channel and on the Weight Loss by Pete podcast, which you can find at iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. So the idea for this episode came to me because I actually just an hour or so ago spoke on a gut health summit, and I had to discuss what the correlation was between weight loss and gut health. So I actually also wrote about that earlier today to my email list, and I posted it all over social media. And basically, your gut health, your microbiome has everything to do with it. How? Let me explain. So for starters, we're taught that we have to eat a diet high in refined grain-based carbohydrates, so bread, pasta, rice. I was raised in the United States. We were taught the food pyramid in health and nutrition classes growing up. It's since switched to my plate in the last 10 or 15 years, but it's essentially the same thing. Instead of a pyramid, you had a plate, and grains were right at the base of the pyramid. We've talked about the permanent weight loss pyramid before and how mindset's at the base of that for us. And obviously that being the most critical component, grains were the most critical component of the food pyramid, and still to this day, the most critical component of my plate. What has that yielded? Oh, I don't know, 60 plus years of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and giant jumps in heart disease, various forms of cancer, neurological conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. So all easily accessible pieces of data that you can find on the CDC website and on different measures of tracking these types of things. And what a diet high in refined grains does is it can lead to a leaky gut. It can lead to celiac disease. It can lead to gluten sensitivity, Crohn's disease as well. And that the incidence of just that in the population has jumped up tremendously since the 1980s. And I think a lot of that has to do with how grains in our country are genetically modified. And essentially, long story short, the original wheat that was found on this planet, einkorn wheat, was a very tall and wide crop. They've now made it so that the new wheat crops are shorter and more compact, so that in the same acreage and land, they can plant a bunch more crops. Obviously, this has done a lot of damage to the gut microbiomes of a lot of folks thinking that they're eating these foods to be healthier, when in actuality, they are not. Your gut has everything to do with your hormone levels. Hormones are critical to losing weight, particularly the hormone insulin. Insulin is produced by the pancreas and is often produced when there's a giant spike in your blood sugar. The only way there's a giant spike in your blood sugar is if you eat a diet high in added sugar and in refined grains. So when your blood sugar spikes, your pancreas produces insulin, and that will regulate it. So then your blood sugar will drop. That's where a lot of people go into food comas. They get a 2 o'clock feeling, maybe around lunchtime, because they had a very starchy, maybe even sugary meal at lunch. And what happens too is we stimulate a process called the insulin resistance cycle when we eat a diet high in refined grains, starches, and carbohydrates in general. And basically, everything our body needs at that point in time to replenish our cells, muscles, and tissues is utilized, and pancreas helps to distribute it to the appropriate cells, muscles, and tissues. But the rest is stored as fat. Fat is nothing more than stored energy. But the problem is, as time goes on, you build up more and more fat, obviously you become more overweight, and your body can also become insulin resistant. This means that you can then become type 2 diabetic, and type 2 diabetes in and of itself can kill you, but it also opens up the floodgates for a myriad of the other health conditions that are fatal, like heart disease, the various forms of cancer, and the neurological conditions of the world that I mentioned earlier. You don't want to eat the high refined carbohydrate diet that the government recommends. In fact, a lot of what the government recommends is shit. And it's only meant to line the pockets of the industries, to line the pockets of the politicians in office. That's all for another time. We won't get into that today. But long story short, eating a diet high in refined carbohydrates messes with our insulin levels and messes with our hormone levels. It can lead to a leaky gut, which then leaves you susceptible to a multitude of health issues, not just being overweight. It also makes burning fat and losing weight that much harder because your hormone levels are out of whack. Your hormone levels have to be pretty well regulated in order for your body to efficiently burn fat and to lose weight. It can't do that if it's all messed up. That's number one. Number two, we've gotten away from organic farming. And back in the day, 70, 80 years ago, organic farming was just farming. But because we've created crops that are pesticide and herbicide resistant, Roundup being one of them, and the key chemical being glyphosate, they spray these crops and they are genetically altered in a lab. The seeds have been created in a lab so that they don't die when they're sprayed. This is an issue because that gets into our food supply and we eat that. So we think, oh, we're eating an apple that's been sprayed with pesticides or herbicides. This is awesome. No, it's not awesome because we're ingesting toxins. And something I learned by being on this summit was that toxins are stored not just throughout your body, but in your fat stores. So if you're eating a diet high in refined carbohydrates and you're adding in pesticide, herbicide-ridden produce, then you're jacking up the toxins in your body, and obviously you're destroying your gut microbiome and throwing everything out of whack. And there was a study, I had actually a pretty popular piece in the Huffington Post a couple of years ago. I actually got reached out to by a couple of conventional farming associations who are pissed at me for posting this study and for kind of condemning conventional farming. But basically, the article cited a study that showed that a very wide range of people, ranging from, I believe, ages 5 to like 65, they eat a clean diet, but they were eating conventionally beforehand. They had their blood toxicity measured, and then they switched to organic food. So they literally ate the same diet, just switching from conventional to organic. And in just 1 week, they lowered their blood toxicity by an average of 80%, 80%. That is huge. And obviously, depending on where you live, like I live near New York City, there's a lot more air pollution and things like that in an area like mine than maybe yours. If you live in more of a rural area or you're more in the countryside, it's not as congested with cars and things of that nature and different air pollutants. But there's a whole wide plethora of things that can add toxicity to your body. But just by eating some real whole organic foods, people can lower their blood toxicity in 1 week by up to 80%. That's pretty impressive. And a lot of people say, well, organic food is more expensive. Yeah, that's true. And it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, that is a way to make more money, but it also shows that they're putting more care into the making of this produce. The same can be said for meat. So meat's a little different. Obviously, they don't spray the animals that they slaughter with pesticides and herbicides. Instead, they pump them with antibiotics and hormones. Luckily, here in the United States, it's not allowed anymore in poultry. So poultry is one of the few meats that you can ingest conventionally that probably is no worse or better for you than organic. And also with produce, I forgot to mention that there's the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. These are lists that you can look up online, and basically they show that the Dirty Dozen is just 12 foods that you don't want to ingest conventional. You want to eat them organic. The Clean 15 shows you foods that you can eat conventionally. You don't have to buy the extra money organically, and that will help you a little bit in the dollars and cents perspective. I know a lot of people live on budgets, but at the end of the day, I tell people this: would you rather spend a little extra in money each week in groceries, making sure that you're fueling your body with the best possible food and you're doing your best to avoid and prevent chronic disease, obesity, things of that nature? Or would you rather roll the dice, continue to save money, eat cheap, crappy processed foods, a diet high in refined carbohydrates, get fat, get sick, and die in slow and painful death, and also most likely go bankrupt or never get to enjoy any of the money you make, because any money that you're able to save up or put aside, you're going to have to use later in life for medical bills for these chronic conditions that are in the top 10 causes of death in the United States, and yet you could have avoided or prevented all of them. I don't know. It's a tough decision. It really isn't, in my opinion, but it might be for you. And it sucks because for a lot of people, until they get diagnosed with something or they're like legitimately warned, if you do not change things and quickly, you are going to die, unfortunately, they don't really go over along with the wake-up call, which isn't great. So that's number two. So eating a diet rich in real whole organic foods is definitely more beneficial than eating a diet that's either conventionally raised, if you're eating produce or meat, or going to the interior aisles of the grocery store and getting processed garbage, which brings us to the third thing that you don't want to eat. So processed foods, again, the interior aisles, if it's sold in a box or in any type of packaging and it has a nutrition label and it has more than like a half dozen ingredients, all of which you could hopefully at least understand what they are. If it's long chemical names, and there's colorings like red 42 and shit like that, guess what? It's not healthy for you. And in fact, there are numerous studies on artificial colorings, flavorings, preservatives, and sweeteners that show that they destroy both your good and your bad. And so it's good that it destroys the bad, but unfortunately, they also destroy the good gut bacteria. And that leaves you susceptible to autoimmune conditions, to disease, and to obesity, because especially artificial sweeteners, they kill your metabolism. They fuck up your hormones exponentially to the point that you first have to correct what's going on in your gut. And sometimes it's not quick. Sometimes you can fix it in as little as a month. Other times, depending on how fucked up it is, it can take longer. And unfortunately, if you have to fix your gut first, you may not see the results on the scale or in your clothing size reducing or your body composition changing. And that's obviously very difficult because even if you're really in this for the right reasons, you're in this for the long haul and you're making a lifestyle change, you want to see results. You want to see weekly or monthly gratification that what you're doing is working. You want to look and feel better. And sometimes it will take a little longer, especially if you really damage your gut with artificial products. So stay away from processed foods. Focus on real whole organic foods, and you're going to be much better off. So in conclusion, gut health has everything to do with weight loss, and especially the type of weight loss that we're looking to achieve here. If you're watching or listening to this podcast, you want to achieve permanent weight loss. The only way to do that is to consistently practice healthy, sustainable lifestyle habits. It takes 66 days, according to scientific studies, to form a habit. So that's 2 months and 1 week, or even a little less than a week, 6 days instead of 7 on top of the 2 months. That's not a long time in the grand scheme of your life. So if you're able to go all in and deal initially with the physical and mental urges to eat garbage and skip exercise and not sleep well, and really make those 3 things a priority in your life, you'll not only see the immediate effects. Within a week or two, you'll notice the effects. You'll think more clearly. Joint pain and inflammation will subside. Any bloating will subside. Your body will function more optimally. And it's a beautiful thing. And obviously, if you're looking to lose weight, which if you're listening or watching this, then you probably are, you'll see the results on the scale in how your clothes fit and how your body looks. When you go in the shower, you look in the mirror maybe beforehand. It's going to be a great, great thing, but you have to be all in. And that was something I talked about in the interview that I did earlier today. You have to be all in. You can't have, with a lot of people with diets and fitness programs, especially the 30 pounds of 30 days bullshit, they have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And they have 1 foot in because maybe they want to look good on the beach. Maybe they have their wedding coming up. They want to look good. Whatever. They want to look good for something short term, even if it's in the next 6 to 12 months. And even if they go about losing the weight the right way, then what are they going to do when they reach it? Probably revert back to their bad habits because they're not doing it for anything other than vanity. You got to be in this for the right reasons, and it has to be a lifestyle change. But like I said, commit to this for a little over 2 months, and guess what? It's going to be second nature. You're going to really feel like crap when you eat a processed, refined carbohydrate-rich meal. You're going to really feel like crap when you don't prioritize and get consistent quality sleep. And you're really going to feel like crap on days where you don't exercise. I feel like a complete waste of life if any or multiple of those things occur. And look, you don't have to be perfect. Nobody is. There are going to be days and maybe even weeks where you fall off the wagon, but you got to pick yourself back up and make this consistent And a lot of people like to live by 80-20. That's a good start. The closer to 100% you can go, the better the results you're going to see, both in the short term and in the long term. So I hope I made this pretty clear to you, and I hope you found this helpful. So before I go, I want to ask you to do one of or two things. It depends on what you're looking to accomplish. For starters, if you like this video, if you like this podcast, please subscribe to the channel and leave a review. I'd love to hear your feedback, good, bad, indifferent. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm doing this for you. I want this to be as informative, motivational, whatever the message of the day is. I want it to be helpful for you. The only way I can do that is if I hear back from you. And also, if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, please leave that in the comments below, and I'll be sure to address that in the coming week. I always love hearing from you guys and what will best help you. So that's number one. Subscribe, leave a review. Number two, I'm looking for my next success story. So I've had a great deal of success in the last 6 to 12 months. I've had some great success stories. Some people have really changed their lives, and they're still going strong months after they completed working with me. And I'm looking for that next success story, that person that I confront on the homepage of my website, the top 3. If you want to check it out, it's weightlossbypete.com. But all you got to do, this is in the description below, is go to weightlossbypete.com/next success story. Again, that link is in the comments, or I'm sorry, not the comments, the description below. And all you got to do is fill out the health questionnaire to apply for the program. I will reach out to you within 24 hours to schedule a free program startup call. And we're going to make sure that this is the right thing for you. One thing I'm going to warn you is you got to be all in. Like I said at the end of this message, you got to be all in. You got to be in this for the right reasons. And you have to be willing to invest in yourself. You can't expect a freebie. This isn't a free thing, but I can assure you, if you take the tools that I'm going to provide you with and the coaching that I'm going to provide you with, and you implement and you take action and just give it a couple of months, I can promise you the changes you'll see and you'll feel will astound you, and you're really definitely never going to want to look back. So again, the link for that is weightlossbypete.com/next success story. Thanks so much for watching or listening. Don't forget to subscribe or leave a review. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.